Good afternoon. Today's shir Refuah Shaleimah for Yehuda Chaim ben Esther, Refuah Shaleimah, and also Lenishmas Osher Shmuel Chaim and Ephraim Etziona, Yaakov Cohen ben Gedalia Cohen, Avram Yosef ben Yaakov Cohen, and Pesha Bela Bas Isidora and Tzidav ben Chaim Pesach, Yitzchak ben Sarah, Devorah Bas Yitzchak, Avram ben Mordechai David, Reuben ben Shmuel, Shoshana ben Solchanan, Elimelech ben Levi Yitzchak, Chaim ben Fegi Leila Nishmatam. Today's shir will be speaking about our religious coercion. It's in the headlines now, so therefore we got to speak about it. You know, the Mishnah says in Ovot, Yehuda hafochba the kulaba. Keep turning over the Torah. Everything you want to know is in the Torah. Religious coercion, anything, you just got to know where to look. Religious coercion. Didn't that happen in Har Sinai? Didn't God threaten us with a mountain over our heads? But Rav Soloveitchik Zatzal, he says that, I'll quote, he says, religious coercion is an oxymoron. Who are you calling a moron? He said, religious coercion is an oxymoron, he said, because it causes resentment and antagonizes those people that you're forcing to, right? You just antagonize them and you turn them off and they resent it. Right? So the question is, didn't that happen at Matan Torah? Didn't God lift the mountain over our heads? And wasn't that the classic religious coercion, right? When he threatened us?
Or was that the chuppah?
He threatened us. So we try to understand that and why it doesn't really mean what we think it means. First of all, the Gemara in Shabbos Peiches says that God lifted up the mountain over our heads like a barrel, which is very strange. Why did he turn the mountain into a barrel? And why did he have to threaten us? We already said, I do. We already said Nasa v'nishma, right? We already said Nasa v'nishma, so why was it necessary to force us? We already said Nasa v'nishma. So Mikimi gave one Kabbalistic answer, but the morale brings, he says that God follows his own Torah. There's a halacha in the Torah in Parshas Kiteitzei, if someone forces a woman to be with him, and he looks like Robert Redford in his prime. Remember Robert Redford in his prime?
Still looks good.
And she looks like the Wicked Witch of the West. Remember her?
Hillary.
Right, like Hillary. And he forces himself on her. If she wants, he can never divorce her. No matter how repulsive and ugly she is, if she wants him, remember, she looks like the Wicked Witch of the West. And he looks like Burt Reynolds in his prime. Remember him? So if she wants, with a big if, then he has to marry her, and no matter what happens, how ugly she gets, he can never divorce her. That's halach and Parshas Kiteitzei. So the morale says, Ray, that God follows his own Torah. God knew we're going to get pretty ugly with sin throughout the centuries. And he will be tempted to divorce us. He did an act of coercion. I'm stuck on you. No matter how ugly and obnoxious we get, he is stuck with us. So that's a Kabbalistic interpretation of why God forced himself on us, Kaviyachol, even though we said what? Nasa v'nishma. But of course, there are other interpretations, all equally true. So let's go with the one in Tractate Shabbos 88, that God lifted the mountain over our heads like a barrel. That's a problematic Gemara, because why? A mountain...
If he lifted the barrel upside down, then...
But the mountain is not a barrel, Chava. Why did he turn the mountain into a barrel?
To pour down his...
What? Roll out the barrel, we'll have a barrel of fun. I'm dating myself. I think Bobby Vinton sang that. So what does it mean, he turned the mountain into a barrel? So I heard this from Shlomo Moshe Amar, the former chief rabbi of Israel. Now he's the chief rabbi of Jerusalem. So he asked that question. And he told us, of course, it is a Agada Talmudic statement. You know, the Talmud is made up of Agada and Halacha. The Talmud is made up of halachic sections and metaphoric sections. And the Ramban already told us at the Disputation of Barcelona in the year 1265, Disputation of Barcelona, you remember, against Pablo Gustiani, that only the halachic part of the Talmud must be taken literally. The Agada part of the Talmud, the non-halachic part, like God holding a mountain over our heads, that is a metaphor. It is not to be taken literally. Only the halachic part of the Talmud is taken literally. So what does this metaphor mean? So Shlomo Moshe Amar, who is not a chief rabbi of Jerusalem, he wears the uniform, you know. He's a great Kabbalist and a great Torah scholar, and he's a great humble person. And I heard this from him on a Shavuos night many years ago at the Yeshurun. So he explained it's an allegory. Now, first of all, why does the allegory say God lifted a mountain over our heads like a barrel? Why not like a mountain? And this is any way to begin a relationship? Any way to begin a relationship, Chava? Right? Not a way to begin a relationship. Right? A threat? So he said it's totally misunderstood. What the Talmud means, it's totally misunderstood. A barrel is hollow.
That's what I said.
A barrel cannot hurt you. A barrel is hollow and empty. And a barrel is made to preserve and protect the precious liquid inside, whether it's oil or what?
Wine.
Or wine. And the Talmudic language is this. God held the mountain over your head like a barrel. Again, not like a mountain. And he said, if you accept the Torah, mutav. What does that mean?
That's good.
V'imlav shom tehei kivaraschem. That's not proper grammar. If you don't accept it, over there will be your burial ground. What do you mean over there? Should have said po. God knows Hebrew. Yeah. If you don't accept the Torah, po tehei kivaraschem. Here will be your burial ground. But God doesn't say po. He doesn't say kan. Dr. Hackett, he says sham. Over there. Over there where? So Ramar explains, outside of the barrel. It wasn't a threat. No way to begin a relationship. You agree with me, right? Starting off on the wrong foot. God was telling us, if you accept the Torah will protect you and preserve you for eternity like a barrel preserves wine or oil. But if not, sham, take your ass. What does sham mean?
Outside the barrel.
Beautiful, Chava. Well, you want to come up here. Outside the barrel, you'll become a mortal people, and you'll eventually be buried. Where are the Phoenicians? Where are the Assyrians? Where are the Babylonians? Where are the Greeks and the Romans?
Buried.
Under 60 feet of sand. It's not a threat. Hashem is saying, you don't accept the Torah, the precious barrel or protection of the Torah, outside the barrel, Yehuda Sham, over there, you'll wind up a mortal people. Eventually, you'll be extinct and be buried. All the nations, except Israel. So that's what Hashem was saying. It wasn't a threat. It was a statement of what? A fact.
Yeah.
Isn't that unbelievable? More than that. Getting back to the question, we already said Nasa v'nishma.
Does that mean
We already said I do, so why shotgun wedding? It's not Virginia. Right. We said I do, Nasa v'nishma. So why did he force us? So one Talmudic statement says, we said I do, Ray, on the Torah Shebiktav. On the written Torah we said I do. But then God said, wait a minute. Look at the Torah Shebal Peh. It's endless. The sea of the Talmud. That we were not willing to accept. So there, God had to what? Force us. But again, and he said, Sham tekever aschem. What does Sham mean? Over there, what do you mean? We said, I do for the Torah Shebektav. This is a beautiful word, Yehuda. I think you should inculcate it. We said, I do on the written Torah. The oral Torah, we didn't want. It's too endless, right? So God said, if you only accept the Torah Shebiksav without the Torah Shebal Peh, Sham tekever aschem. There, where?
Well,
outside of the oral Torah, you only wind up in a grave, because the principle of Tchiyat HaMeitim and Olam Haba, Ray, the principle of life after life, and the resurrection of dead is not found anywhere in the written Torah. It's only in the oral Torah, Zisel. So God is saying, if you only accept the written Torah without the oral Sham, what does Sham mean? Over there, outside the oral Torah, you'll wind up in a grave, because in the written Torah, there isn't any mention of life after death or of Tchiyat HaMesim. That's found only where? In the Torah you guys don't want. So therefore you have to accept the oral Torah. Otherwise, Sham Teik V'Raschem, it's not a threat. Without the oral Torah, you'll wind up in a grave. Because only the oral Torah speaks about life after death and Tchiyat HaMesim, not the written. So again, it's not a threat. Without the oral Torah, Sham Teik V'Raschem, in the written Torah itself, you'll be dead. Olam Haba is not in Torah Shebeksav. Tchiyat HaMesim is not in Torah Shebeksav. That's only where? Torah Shebal Peh. And therefore, of the two Torahs, Dr. Hackett, which is more precious to Hashem? Yishalmi Peh, Perik. The oral Torah, beautiful. The oral Torah is more precious. Because again, Tchiyat HaMesim and Olam Haba, Gershom are not in the written Torah. Are not in the written Torah. They're only in the oral Torah. And the Zohar goes even deeper. The written Torah, even Billy Graham can read. Right? Remember him?
And did.
Right? And did. But the oral Torah, oral is the intimate, lovey-dovey talk between God and the Jewish people.
That's right.
Lovey-dovey, we don't want the rest of the world to know what lovey, oral Torah is like when two lovers have a secret lovey-dovey talk, cupcake, schmoochie. We don't want the rest of the world to know that.
That's right.
That's between me and you and me. So therefore it's more precious. Yes?
But in the book of Esther says, Kimu v'kiblu. Doesn't that refer to they?
Kimu v'kiblu HaYehudim, they accepted again. They accepted the oral Torah. There was a new accept. This time, Ahavas Hanes. Right? Not like the first time when they did it out of awe. Here they did it out of love, that they survived the miracle. They Purim, so they accepted the Torah again. Good point. But now, getting back to the question of what? Of Nasa v'Nishma. We said it 3,330 years ago. But Ray, if you look in the Chumash, you know where Nasa v'Nishma is written in the Torah? It's chapter 24:7. I'm not making this up. Nasa v'Nishma is the chapter 24, verse 7. That means we have to say Nasa v'Nishma 24/7. Coinky dinky. Exodus 24:7. So people think Nasa v'Nishma are over and done. No, Chav, it's amazing. Nasa v'Nishma is Exodus 24/7.
Yeah,
I don't think that could be a coinky dinky. That we have to say Nasa v'Nishma 24/7. Wow. So Nasa, what does Nasa means? We will do. V'Nishma we will hear. But how could you do without hearing? Does it make any sense?
Yes.
How could you do without, if you don't know what to do, how could you do?
Because of
Right?
the source.
Mm-hmm.
The source.
Love.
So the Beis Halevi explains, there are two aspects of Talmud Torah. Naseh v'Nishma. If you don't learn, you don't know what to do. So obviously, women have to learn, men have to learn the laws of Shabbat, the laws of Kashrus. If you don't learn them, you won't know what to do. That's Naseh. But then there's V'Nishma, learning Lishma. Even if you know already, learn it again. That's a higher level. Naseh, you're learning for practical reasons. You don't know the laws of Shabbat. You don't know the laws of Kashrut. Or the laws of Taras HaMishpacha, you can't do.
Right.
So that's a Naseh. But the higher level is Nishma. Even though you've already learned what to do, Ray, you know what to do, on and on. You're learning V'Nishma. That's Torah Lishma. You're learning Torah Lishma because that's God's lovey-dovey, intimate talk between what? God and us.
Maybe
The Torah Shabbat Peh. You know what to do, but you're learning anyway because the Torah is God's love letter to the Jewish people. Ray, when a lover sends a lover a love letter, doesn't the lover keep reading it on and on? But you read it already. Gershon, why are you reading it again? Because my lover wrote me a love letter. Not a Dear John letter, Yehuda. Not a Dear John letter, right? So, you know, I was young and I used to write love letters and get love letters. I used to read it again and again. The Torah is God's love letter. So we keep what? Reading it again and again. That's the nishma, even though we know the nase. Yes?
Lishma doesn't just mean physical hearing, it means to understand.
Right. Lishma means for her sake. Who's the her? Ray, who's the her? The Shekhinah. We forget that God is feminine. Shekhinah is feminine. Yeah. The word neshama, the word Torah, the word Mishnah, the word mitzvah, it's all feminine. Koinky dinky. No. The Shema means for her sake, for God's sake. Because it's God's love letter to us, so we keep reading again. And that's the Nishma part, even though we know the Nasa part. So again, God didn't force us, He persuaded us. That without the Torah, we don't have, without the oral Torah, we have no Tchiyat HaMeitim, we have no Olam Haba. That's all found where, Ray? In the oral Torah. Without the oral Torah, Sham, outside of the oral Torah, outside the barrel, you don't have eternity. You don't have Tchiyat HaMeitim. You'll be a mortal people. Like, where are the Phoenicians today, Zitzel? Have you heard of the Phoenicians?
In the ground.
The Assyrians. The Babylonians, where are they? Gone. Gone with the wind. We're still here because we have the oral Torah. The oral Torah promises us what? Eternity. That's the oral Torah, not in the written. Tchiyat HaMeitim, Olam Haba, Yehuda, life after death, life after life, it's all in the oral Torah. So God says, Kinderlach, you cannot live without that. Without that, you'll be buried. Isn't that an incredible idea? It's not a threat, Ray. Hashem is persuading us. Yes? Now take a look at source number 9. Source number 9 on side 2. Here the Rambam seems to speak about religious coercion when Mashiach comes. See source number 9 on side 2, Yehuda? The Rambam, Hilchas Malachim. I think it's on the line in yellow. Im Yavoid Melech mi Beis David. If a king will arise, source number 9, from the house of David, Hoge b'Torah, v'osek b'mitzvahs keDavid David. He will be a super Haredi rabbi doing all the mitzvahs like his father David. Kifi Torah she'ksav v'shabal peh, according to the written and the oral Torah. Another reason, Zisel, why the Shalmi Peyat says that the oral Torah is more precious to God. Because the written Torah is written on animal skin. The oral Torah, I've got you under my skin. Masha, where's the oral Torah written? On my skin. On my skin. On my neshama. The written Torah is on animal skin. But the oral Torah is inside my soul, underneath my skin. Remember that song, I've got you under my skin? Ray, they got everything from us. What's under my skin? My godly soul. What's in my godly soul? The oral Torah. It's not on animal skin. So the Rambam says in source number 9, you have that? Mashiach will come, a candidate. What's the next word, Yehud? I think it's on the line. No, it's not on the line. V'yochof. V'yochof kol Yisrael. What does that mean, Yehuda?
He will force.
He will force. Ooh, sounds like religious coercion to me. He will force the Jews, leilech ba, ulechazek, and bitka. He will force the Jews to walk in the ways of the Torah. V'yelachem lechemet Hashem. And he will what? Fight the wars of God. Harezeh becheskat hu Mashiach. That's a chazaka. How do you say chazaka in English? Presumption of Mashiach, right? V'im osav tzliach. You see the arrow there, Gershom? There's an arrow there. If he is successful, ubana beis hamikdash bimkomo, and he builds the temple bimkomo. What does bimkomo mean? On Temple Mount. And what's the next word? V'kabetz nitche Yisrael, and he can gather the Jews of Borough Park and Lakewood. If he can make them make aliyah, harezeh Mashiach b'vada, Yehuda. If he can get the Jews of San Diego to come back home, Hareze Mashiach b'vadai. Then he's what?
Definitely Mashiach.
He's definitely Mashiach. If he can do that. If he can get the Jews out of Lakewood. Right? V'yitaken es ha'olam kuloi lavoid et Hashem b'yachad. And he will perfect the world to serve Hashem b'yachad. Shinema, there's a pasuk in the Navi, ki oz den epoch el amim, then I will turn over to the nations, safa barura. What does that mean? A clear language. Likwei kulam b'shem Hashem, all of them shall call the name of God, u'l'avdei shechem echad, and they will serve God. What does shechem mean in Hebrew? Shoulder. Shoulder to shoulder. We're going to stand shoulder to shoulder. It doesn't mean the whole world will become Jewish. Mikimia, no. The Talmud says the Mashiach comes, we won't accept Gerim. It means what? Keep the 7, go to heaven. You don't have to be Jewish. The whole world will acknowledge that he's the one and only God. And they'll become righteous Gentiles by keeping the 7 and going to heaven. Okay? So what do you mean Mashiach will force? I think it means that he will persuade the Jewish people. The truth will be so plain that the people will be what? Convinced that this is the way to go. That this is the way to go. Now, Mashiach is not here yet. But you look at source number 10, Yehuda, amazing Gemara, that Mashiach could have come 2,500 years ago. Source number 10, you with me? Tractate Sanhedrin 94. Bikesh HaKadosh Baruch Hu lasoit Cheskiyo Moshiach. God wanted Cheskiyo HaMelech lived 2,500 years ago. God wanted to make him the righteous descendant of King David Mashiach. V'Sancherev Gog Magog. And the Sancherev, the king of Assyria, he was going to play the role of what? Gog Magog, the war to end all wars. But what happened? Ambra Midas Hadin of Kodesh Baruch Hu. The Midas Hadin, how do you say that in English, Yehuda? Midas Hadin. God's aptitude of justice said, you want to make him Mashiach? Rebbeinu Shalom. Uma David Yisrael, Melech Yisrael, the great King David. Shama Kama Shira Shbachas. He sang so many praises of Tillim to you. And you did not make him what? Mashiach. Chizkiyo. Remember? The entire Assyrian army besieged the walls of Jerusalem. Look at Kings number 2. And in one night, 185,000 soldiers, what? Dropped dead. What night was it? Pesach night. We read it in the Haggadah. It was Pesach night. 2,500 years ago, the entire Assyrian army, which was besieging Jerusalem, the next morning, all of them were dead. And he didn't say Shirah. For some reason, Chazkiyahu HaMelech didn't say Hallel. Therefore, Mashiach didn't come. What a powerful Gemara. If you don't say Hallel on Yom Ha'atzmaut, you're preventing the Mashiach from coming. I think the Gemara is Haredi. It's an incredible statement here. Because Chazkiyahu HaMelech experienced the great miracle of the 6-day war. Right? 185,000 Assyrians were besieging the city. And in one night they all dropped dead. And he didn't say Hallel. So God says he's not Mashiach. So the Talmud is implying very strongly, Chava, that when we have great miracles like Chemet Sheshet HaYamim, Chemet HaShichrur, Yom Yerushalayim, and Yom Atzmot, and we don't say Hallel, the Talmud is implying that prevents the Mashiach from coming. That's a tremendous statement over here. I wouldn't dare say it, but the Talmud seems to imply it, Yehuda, that because the Jews don't say Hallel on Yom Yerushalayim and Yom Atzmaot, perhaps that's why Mashiach is not here yet. God said, you don't appreciate the past miracles I did for you? Then why should I do more for you? Frightening statement, Ray. I want you to keep the paper and show your friends over here to convince them that you must say Hallel on Yom Atzmaut, Yom Yerushalayim. Otherwise, perhaps that person who wants that on his conscience, perhaps that's why Mashiach is not here yet, because the Talmud is clearly saying in source number 10, if Chizkiyahu HaMelech would have said Hallel after the great miracle, when God destroyed the Assyrian army like it did the Egyptian army and the Iraqi army and Jordanian army, right, in the Six-Day War, and we would have said Hallel, Mashiach would have come 2,500 years ago. But some people say, Dr. Hackett, do not confuse me with the facts because my mind is what? Now your turn.
Yeah, well, I think I may have said this before. My oldest son went to a yeshiva high school where all the, including the Rosh Yeshiva, they were all Haredi. But it was founded by the Rashi of Tel Aviv at the time before the war, the Second World War, was Mizrahi. And they always said Hallel with a brocha.
On Yom Ha'atzmaut.
And as long as the paper existed, they always got Hatzofim, not Hamodia and not Yeter. That was the daily newspaper that was delivered to the yeshiva.
So anyway, some people are so, I don't know. There are none so blind, Ray, that will not see. But people just don't get it. They're in denial. Get it? Like Pharaoh was in denial. In denial. Ooh. Yes?
Can you not say something else instead of Tefillah for the Medina? They can say Tehillim. Does that count?
Well, Hallel. You have to say Hallel.
Can you say
The Gemara is saying here, in source number 10, Shira means Hallel. Shira means Hallel. That's what it means. When the Talmud mentions Shira, it means Hallel. No, the Hallel that was set up to say, to praise God, and Chazkiyahu didn't do it, so he was not the Mashiach, implying that the reason Mashiach is not here yet, because many Jews refuse to say Hallel on Yom Yerushalayim and Yom Ha'atzmaut. I mean, how do you learn this Gemara? I don't know. Anyway, look at source number 11 about religious coercion, Yehuda. The Rambam in source number 11 seeks to be speaking about religious coercion. See, here the Rambam is speaking about the Aguna problem. According to the Rambam, there would be no Aguna problem today, Gershom. Take a look at the Rambam. He had breite plates. How do you say that, Rachmiel? He had broad shoulders. So we need a Rambam today to get rid of the Aguna problem, Evelyn. Look at source number 11. The Rambam. Mi shahadin noten shekoifa noisa goresh esishtoi. Bezdin decides that the husband is a nutcase, an abuser, whatever, a psycho, and Bezdin decides that he must divorce his wife. Now, normally you can't divorce your wife against your will, but Bezdin decides that the woman is being abused and the husband must divorce her. V'lo rotza lagarish. V'lo rotza lagarish. And he refuses to what?
To divorce.
Today, Aguna problem, right? He's blackmailing her, torturing her. So what should you do, says Rambam? Bezdin, shayisor b'chol mokam b'chol zman, the judicial court in all places and all time, makin also. They beat him up. At she'oma roitzani, until he what? Says, I give her a get. They take him in the back room and they get, what's his name? Carlo Gambino, remember him? They beat the daylights out of him until he says, yes, I want to give the get. The yichtoif I get. And then they write the get. V'hu get, what's the next word? Kosher. Say what? And it's a kosher get, says Rambam. Some people think they're holier than the Rambam. V'hu get kosher. V'chein mikol goyim. Listen to this. Not even Jews. If the mafia beats them up. What's his name? Joe Colombo or Joe Bonanno? Remember him? If Goyim beat him up, and they say to him, Asay Mas Yisrael Amrilach. Do what the Jewish court says to do. Stop abusing your wife, give her a get. V'lachatu also Yisrael b'yad Goyim. Yiddish. And the Jewish people hire Goyish thugs. At shegoresh hareze. What's the next word? Kosher. Say what? Are you sitting down for this, Oshama? V'lachot za'oseh Yisrael, and the Jewish people, the Jewish court pressures this abuser, this psycho who's torturing his wife, biyad goyim, by handing him over to goyim to work him over, at shegeresh, until he gives a get, hareze kosher. It's considered what? Kosher get. Vim hagoyim ha'atzman asu, if the goyim force him on their own, at shekosav hoyel ve'edin nisayin sheyach lavzeh get puzzle. If the goyim do it without being authorized by the Jewish court, then the get is not valid. It's only valid if the goyim work him over with the authorization of what? Of the Bezdin. Now the Rambam asks Yehuda a $64 question, therefore I put it in bold. You see it's bold? The bold and the beautiful. Remember that? The bold and the beautiful? No. The Lama. The Lama Laibotel get ze onus. We know that if you give a get against the person's will, it's a posel a get. So how could the Rambam say that it's what? A kosher a get? The Rambam, the great halachic man, the halacha is if you force to give your wife a get, it's not valid at all. So this man is being forced because he's being beaten up. So why is the get valid? V'lama loy batal get zeh. Ha'anus, he's being forced to give his wife a get because he wants the beatings to stop. Bein biyad goyim, bein biyad Yisrael. See the question marks there?
Yeah.
So why is the get valid? He's only saying I do. He doesn't want to continue to get beaten up, whether by Jewish people or goyim hired by the court to beat him up. So why is the get valid? It seems to be a totally coerced get. So the Rambam says, listen to this. Shein amrim anus. We don't say forced. Elo lemisha nilchatz v'nitchak lasais davar she'eno chayiv bin haTorah lasoto. When is a person considered forced? When he's beaten up? When he's doing something that the Torah doesn't command him to do. Then, if he's beaten up and he says, I do, then he doesn't really mean it because it's not something the Torah requires of him. You go on, Misha hukat shemachar. Someone doesn't want to sell his house. And you make him an offer he can't refuse. Chava. You beat him up until he says, I want to sell. Is that a valid sale? No. Why, Yehuda? Because that's obviously he's only saying I want to sell. He doesn't want to continue to be beaten up. Oinasan. But when it comes to going against the Torah, aval, there's a big but there. Mi shatakfa yitzray hara levatal mitzvah. If someone is grabbed by the Yetzer Hara to cancel a mitzvah, or lasot avera, or to do a sin, v'huka, and he's beaten up, and he's beaten until he does what he has to do. That's not called what? Being forced. Ella, you, there's a finger there. You see the finger? You know, the finger. There's a finger. Ella, hu anas atzmo bedata hara. He forced himself to go against Hashem's will. Lefikach. Someone refuses to divorce his wife after Bezdin what? Commanded him to divorce his wife.
Then he's
right, and he's a sinner.
Then he's in violation.
He's a violation. Right to Liyos Yisrael. Right to who lasois kol mitzvahs l'chak ben averot. He really wants to follow the Torah because he's a chelik Elohim Yimal. He's a godly soul. So if Bezdin rules that he must divorce his wife, that becomes Torah law. So why is he going against it? Because the Yetzer Hara tzach. How do you say that in English? The Yetzer Hara grabbed him. The Yitzroy takfo. The Yetzer Hara has him. Kivin shuka. Once he's beaten up. Tosha Yitzroy, until the devil what? Lets him go. And he says, I want to divorce my wife. Then he's really divorcing her of his own free will. You hear what he's saying? Every Jewish person wants to do the will of Hashem. How could he not? He's part of God. Chelik Elohim Yimal. It's a pasuk in Zay Sabracha, Sonia. Ki chelik Hashem amo. Zay Sabracha, Deuteronomy 32. That HaKadosh Baruch Hu is a part of us. We're a part of Him. Ki chelik Hashem amo. God is a portion of his people. That means every Jewish person has a piece of God, a part of God in him. So why is he going against God's will? Nebuch, the devil.
Made him do it.
The devil made me do it. So we beat the devil out of him. I'll beat the devil out of him. Not a joke. We beat the devil out of him. So when he says, I do, that's his true self. And therefore the get is what? Valid. The Rambam, where are you today? We need the Rambam today. Hundreds of agunas, Nebuch. Take the guy in the back room, Ray, and make him an offer he can't refuse. But no. Some people think they're more religious than the Rambam, Yehuda. I don't understand. But the Rambam says here clearly that it's a valid get. Right? People say, I wrestle with my conscience. I wrestle with my conscience. What does that mean? You have you heard that expression, Elisheva?
I've experienced it.
I wrestle with my conscience. What does that mean, Zisel? I wrestle with the devil.
Yeah.
I wrestle with my Yetzer Hara. So I want to beat the devil out of me. Isn't that incredible? Every person is a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Well, there we have it.
Every person. My Rebbe Papam said, if you don't believe that, you don't know yourself.
Yes.
Sometimes we act like Dr. Jekyll.
Yes.
And other times we act like Mr. Hyde.
It's amazing.
You win some and you lose some. I said Dr. Jekyll at you.
Yeah, because of the story.
Yes?
In fact, it's quite, the problem is that the president has these powers here, and they don't use them.
They have this power. They could do that. They're afraid to use them.
I read an article on an interview with David Staub, who's the head of the Tzohar movement.
Right.
He said that all people, all Messiah get, all husbands who refuse to give a get, they should all be flogged. You know,
This is what the Rambam is saying. That's right. They should be flogged until they say, I do. And it's a valid get.
They're afraid.
So that's the Rambam's solution to the Guna problem.
Except the man does it again to the next wife.
What? Well, she knows that guy's an abuser. She wouldn't marry him.
It's hard
Right?
to leave a man in
Not a
court
valid
believing that.
marriage.
What?
It's not a valid marriage if she knew he was going to be an SOB.
That's a mekach to'ot. You could say if she knew that guy's a psycho, she never would have married him in the first place.
No.
Amen.
Perhaps she doesn't need a get. Ooh, Chava. Now, if you take a look at Marama Rottenberg, in the 1200s, Chava, this is amazing that the Marama de Rottenberg, one of the great Rishonim, the Rebbe of the Rosh, actually annulled the marriage. A woman married a psycho, a real Michiganer, and he called it a mekach ta'ut. If she would have known that he's a psycho, she never would have married him. So he annulled the marriage without a get. Yiddish Yudah. It's called a mekach ta'ut. How do you say that in English? Mekach ta'ut.
Something mistaken.
A mistaken other. She never would have married him in the first place. So the whole kiddushin, Masha, didn't take place. Bezdin can be oike kiddushin lemafreya. How do you say that in English? Retroactively. So she wouldn't need a get. And that's why when you marry a woman, you say, Harayat Mukadeshes li Kidat Moshe v'Yisrael. I'm marrying you according to the laws of Moses and Israel.
That's right.
So that means if it's a mekach to'ot, it wasn't a valid marriage according to the laws of Moses and Israel. So perhaps she doesn't need a get because she wasn't married in the first place. She was tricked, Rachmiel, tricked.
But the rabbis won't do it.
The rabbis cannot. You need a Marama Rottenberg with really wide shoulders, Cecil.
What happens to the children?
What do you mean what happens to the children? What happens to the children?
Are they mamzering?
No, why the mamzerim? So you make a big mistake. A single man, a man marries a woman out of wedlock, has sex with a woman out of wedlock. A single woman, the kids mamzerim? Of course not.
They're Jewish.
Not only the Jewish, there's nothing wrong with the kids. Why the mamzerim? Mamzer is only if you have relations with a woman that's married to another man and you have relations with her, then the kid's a mamzer. But if the woman is a single woman and you have relations with her outside of marriage, even though it's a sin, the children are what? 100% kosher. 100% kosher. People don't know that, Chava. Mamzer is only if you have relations with a married woman other than the husband. Or lo yaleinu, incest. Then it's a mamzer. But if the woman was single and your relations with her outside of marriage, even though it's a sin, the children are 100% kosher yidden.
Of course.
100%.
Does it work the other way then? If it's a single woman, no, sorry, so a single woman and married man, that's also mamzer.
A single, as long as the woman is single, if the man is married, it doesn't matter. If the man is married and he has relations with a single woman outside of marriage, even though it's a sin, the children are kosher. If the woman is married and has relations with a man besides her husband, then the children are mamzerim. Then the children are mamzerim. Right? What? Because the Torah said so. Right? We don't know why. So you're asking a good question. You're asking a good question. What's your first name again? In Hebrew. Zahava. Oh. Zahava. It's a beautiful name. Zahava. Zahava is asking a good question. It doesn't seem fair. Why, if the man is married and he has an affair with a single woman, it's a sin, but the children are what? Kosher. Yet, if a married woman has an affair with another man, the children are what? Mamzerim. Zahava's asking a bomb question. The answer is, I don't know. God makes the rules, right, Evelyn? We don't know why. Why is it like that? If the woman is married, she has an affair, the children are mamzerim. If the man is married and has an affair outside, it's wrong, but the children are kosher. So that's divine wisdom. Right, Zisel? We don't know Hashem's mind. We don't know Hashem's mind, right? But we believe that this is the Torah. Again, we were not forced, we were persuaded. God said, I'll make you an offer, Gershom, you can't refuse. Because you want Chiyat HaMeitim, you want Olam Haba, you want life after death. You want resurrection. You won't find that in the written Torah. You only find that in the oral Torah that you guys didn't want. So Kinderlach, you have to have the oral Torah. That's your lifeline to immortality. That's your lifeline to eternity. What? Ray, the oral Torah. But without it, kivaraschem, it's not a threat. You'll be a mortal people. You'll be buried. Isn't that an incredible idea? Why the oral Torah is more precious? Because Tchiyat HaMesim, Olam Haba, Gan Eden, it's only in the oral Torah. Therefore, it's more precious. Yes? Somebody asked the question. Forgot? What?
I got a question.
Oh, fire away.
If one of the people in the marriage doesn't keep Shabbos,
New.
do they need to get?
If one of the people in marriage doesn't keep Shabbos, that's a very good question.
Do they need to get?
Do they need a get? That's a very good question.
Depends how they were married.
What?
Depends how they were married.
Depends how they were married.
I was married without any kosher witnesses.
Yeah.
And without anything, reform. And I was told I don't need a get. I got one, but I don't need a get.
If you didn't get married according to halacha,
right.
then you don't need a get.
Right.
Because if there was no kiddushin, you don't need a get.
I know.
Right?
Right.
But if two people get married, if they can't, one doesn't want to keep Shabbos, then how can they live together?
Yeah, really.
So how can you live together?
I had a rough time getting my divorce.
Yeah.
The rabbi had to make sure that she wanted it.
You cannot divorce a woman against her will. You know that.
Yeah, but
You cannot divorce. The woman has to agree, and the man has to agree.
she wasn't Shabbos.
Well, how could you live with her if she's not Shabbos? But she has to be willing to accept a get. She has to be willing to accept a get. If she's not willing, then you can't force her. You know that. You can't force her. You make her an offer, she can't refuse. How do you say that?
She doesn't need to get because
Well, if she's not Jewish, she doesn't need a get, right? But if you married her not in a kiddushin way, then she doesn't need a get anyway. Right? Rav Moshe Feinstein's great chidush, right? If you're not married according to halacha, you don't need a get. You don't need a get.
And the marriage was with Kedusha.
Then you need a get. But she has to be willing to accept it. You make her an offer that she can't refuse.
If they're married,
Huh?
But she
if they're married according to Bia, wouldn't she need a get?
What?
If she's married according to Bia, wouldn't she need a get?
If you're married with two witnesses, the two witnesses have to be Shomer Shabbos. If the witnesses are not Shomer Shabbos, the Kedusha never took place. It has to be a red book, Gedeshes Li, Kedas Moshe of Yisrael, and the witnesses who witnessed the ceremony have to be Shomer Shabbos. Otherwise, it's like it didn't take place. Wow. Yeah.
No, Rabbi Kahana said I didn't need to get.
Rav Moshe Feinstein said it before Rav Kahana. Mikimia, Moshe Feinstein said it before Rav Kahana.
But my
That you didn't need a get.
My husband, he checked. My husband to be, he checked.
Okay. Rav Henkin, Zechat Tzadik Avracha, Rav Henkin, a big gadol who was Rav Moshe's sparring partner. How do you say that? In this corner. Not Chavrusa, they were bar plukta. You know, they loved each other, but you know, so he said, Zidaf Yoa get. Let me tell you the story that Rabbi Wein told me. Rav Henkin, he was a Rebbe over Buttel. How do you say that in English? Over Buttel. Never he lost it. Never, he was a very old man in a nursing home, and he didn't remember anything. Rav Wein came to visit him, and he kept repeating over and over again, Zidaf Yoa get, Zidaf Yoa get, Zidaf Yoa get, Zidaf Yoa get. How do you translate English? There was a major machlokas he had with Moshe Feinstein, a big machlokas that he had. And he kept insisting that even though Moshe is right, the witnesses were Mechala Shabbos, and there was no Kiddushin according to Halacha, but he says Halacha recognizes common law marriage. He says Halacha lives in the real world, Chava, since they lived together as husband and wife, and everybody knew them as husband and wife, even though halachically they were not, because the witnesses were what? Not Shomer Shabbos. Says the great Rav Henkin, Halacha lives in the real world. I think it's called the Facts on the Ground. Halacha recognized common law marriage, and Rav Henkin held Zidaf Yoa get. So the only thing that he remembered, Gershom, was those words, his major machlokas. But Baruch Hashem, we paskin like Rav Moshe Feinstein. That saved a lot of mamzerim that the dafnish can get. Because many reform and conservatives who get married and they get divorced, and the get is not really a get. They go to civil court and they marry somebody else. Are the children mamzerim?
No.
Rav Moshe said no. Rav Henkin held yes. But thank God we paskin like Rav Moshe, the God Lador Yehuda. And he said that what? Since there was no halachic marriage, halacha does not recognize common law marriage, even though Rav Henkin says that it does. And Moshe said halacha does not recognize common law marriage, so the Kedusha never took place. Kedusha never took place, she doesn't need a get, so she marries somebody else on a civil get, then the children are not mamzerim rei. It takes Rav Moshe Feinstein. Thank God for he's a great man. What a great man he was. What a great man. Let me, give me 5 minutes, please. Rav Moshe Feinstein did many, many Kiddushin. Zahava, he came just to hear this. Now hear this. Now hear this. Rav Moshe did many, many, many Kiddushins he did. Once, before the wedding, the mother of the bride became hysterical. You know, maybe she didn't take her what? Her tranquilizer. Before the wedding, you know, marrying off a daughter in a big fancy hall, she became hysterical. She became hysterical. She said she must speak to Rav Moshe privately. He's going to do Masada Kiddushin in a half hour, 40 minutes. She's hysterical. She has to see him privately. Okay. She closes the door. She says, Rebbe, I have a confession to make. I hope the door was open. She said, Rebbe, I have a confession to make. You're sitting down, Ray?
I'm sitting.
This girl that's getting married, she's a mamzeres. My husband was away on a business trip, and the traveling salesman came, and he offered me a nice piece of jewelry, and I couldn't resist. And we had relations. This girl that's getting married now, she's a mamzeres. And the law is that a mamzer cannot marry a Jewish person. Rabbi, I did one sin, and I want another sin on my conscience. I can't allow her to marry this Jewish boy because a mamzer can't marry a Jewish person. I can't live with myself. One sin, adultery, now to have a mamzer marrying a Jewish person. Another sin. You know what he said to her? Close your mouth. Lady, close your mouth. Ein Adam mesim atzmai rasha. Ein Adam mesim atzmai rasha. How do you say that in English? A person is not permitted according to halacha to make himself a rasha. If you're saying you had an affair when you were married, you're making yourself a rasha. We don't believe you. Mazel tov. Die, 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 yada, da, 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 yada, da, 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 da. Rabbi Moshe Feinstein, Zeichat Tzadik Livracha. Ein Adam mesim atzmai rasha. If you're saying you had an affair, you're making yourself a wicked law. Judaism does not allow a person to incriminate himself. Be quiet. I don't believe you, madam. On with the chuppah. The great Moshe Feinstein, Zeichat Tzadik Livracha. He said, don't you dare say that again. I don't want to hear that from your mouth again. Don't you dare tell your daughter. I don't believe you. Shh. Now, if he said it, he said it. If the great Moshe said it, he said it. That's the awesome power of a tzaddik. We need leadership like that today, Gershom. We need leadership like that today. Unfortunately, you don't have it. Any other questions, comments? Thank you. Thursday, we have a special shiur. Thursdays is Chodesh Adar. So we have a special shiur, current events in the Megillah.
Oh boy.
Current events in Megillat Esther. Today's front page. Thursday at 2:30.